cessation of one, the beginning of another. Hopeful prospects stand in the shadow of opportunity. Massive candidates commence on an uncharted path. Today, these college heroes peer into the future, seeking glory, reminded of greatness. It's a beautiful day for a ball game because that's just about what we have inside the theater at Madison Square Garden. It's the 61st annual NFL Draft, and the Jet fans are here in force. They're first on the clock. They've been there since about Christmas. I think some of these guys have been here since Christmas. And this name, Keyshawn Johnson, has been at or near the top of the charts since about Christmas as well. Will it be Keyshawn Johnson, who the Jets draft number 1, the wide receiver from USC? We've assembled everybody, and that means yours truly, Chris Berman, Joe Theismann, Mel Kiper. Welcome to Madness in late April. We are everywhere again as our draft coverage continues here on ESPN. 17th year we have done this, and as you've grown to expect here on ESPN's draft coverage, we're inside many of the war rooms, including of that one of the Super Bowl champion Dallas Cowboys. You've seen Jerry Jones and company, and of course they're hearing it here live in New York. Jerry Jones and company, 3 of the last 4 years they've been Super Bowl champs. Here's where it begins. The man that helped the Cowboys win 2 of those 3 Super Bowl championships, Jimmy Johnson, is now in Miami. We'll have War Room Cam inside Miami to take a look at what the Dolphins will do in year under Jimmy Johnson. There are new coaches in the NFL this year, and one of them is Vince Tobin. Arizona has the 3rd overall pick. We'll look inside the Cardinals' war room. Tony Dungy is the new head man at Tampa Bay. The Bucs will be very busy early. 2 firsts, 2 seconds, 4 picks in all inside the first 41. We also have reporters everywhere, but the question is, for the New York Jets, etc., will it be Keyshawn Johnson, the name that we will hear within 5 or 10 minutes? Reporters all throughout the NFL. Is Keyshawn the man we certainly think he is for the New York Jets? We think it's all systems go. For the latest, let's go to Mark Malone at Weeview Bank Hall at Jets headquarters. Mark.
Well, Chris, as you said, the Jets still hold on to the number 1 pick. They have been in serious negotiations with Keyshawn's representatives since late last night. If they can't get the deal done, by the time they go off the clock, they'll either trade the pick or make another selection. Now let's go to Gary Danielson.
Vince Tobin sitting in a pretty good seat. He gets the 3rd pick. That's an impact player, of course, and it wasn't his fault. The other story impacting on this draft, Eric Swan deal does not appear to go through. He'll be playing here with the Cardinals. Let's now go to Sal Palantonio.
I'm at Raven headquarters in Baltimore. I just talked to Art Modell a few minutes ago. They have the number 4 pick and are happy to sit there. He said they're 99% sure they won't move from that pick despite last-minute offers. They like Lawrence Phillips and hope he drops in his lap. Let's go to Hank Goldberg.
I'm in St. Louis with the Rams, who are holding picks number 6 and 13, so the phones have been active. Latest rumor, they move up to Jacksonville, give up their 13, and for moving up along with Todd Light so they can take Lawrence Phillips. But they may not take a running back with number 6 if they don't get Phillips early. Let's go to Tommy Jackson.
Here in Carolina, where the Panthers have the 8th pick in the draft, the emphasis will be on offense. Last year, they had an outstanding defense that allowed them, as an expansion team, to win 7 games. This year, they'll look to help their young quarterback, Kerry Collins, by drafting skill positions on the offensive side of the ball. Let's go to Andrea Kramer.
Here in Tampa, the Tony Dungy era kicks off with the Bucs holding 2 first-round picks, 12 and 22, and 4 of the first 41 selections. The former defensive coordinator is looking at, naturally, defense, with needs on the line and in the secondary. Now let's go to Chris Mortensen.
I'm in Miami, where Jimmy Johnson's first draft as Dolphins coach is widely anticipated. Jimmy has the 20th pick, but he's been working the phones. Will he do a deal? Will he do a deal with the Cowboys and Jerry Jones? Speaking of the Cowboys, let's go to Chris Myers.
Here in Dallas, the Cowboys have the last pick of the opening round. They'll choose 30th. Don't expect him to stay there. In the 7 years that Jerry Jones has owned the team, he's either traded up or out of the first round every time except once. That's when Dallas picked Troy Aikman. Don't expect an Aikman pick this time. Let's go to Chris Fowler.
Thank you, Chris. Here in our ESPN studios, we'll get the inside of a couple of Mikes. Mike Lombardi, the former and the final director of player personnel in the history of the Cleveland Browns. He'll take us inside the war room, tell us how teams are built from an insider's perspective. And Mike Gottfried, a college coach for 15 years, and of course our ESPN primetime college analyst. He'll break down tape and look at the careers of the guys we have watched develop in college football in the past couple of years. Joining us here in the studio, part of a very good draft for receivers back in 1988, our own Sterling Sharp.
And Chris, this draft is exactly like that one in 1988. These guys are big hitters. They believe in yards after the catch. They're not as fast as a lot of people would like, but these guys love to take the ball to the house after the short games. Chris, back to you in New York.
All right, Sterling, thank you. And Sterling knows what it is to be a wide receiver picked in the first round of what a year that was in '88. Sterling Sharp, Michael Irvin. There's been a lot of chanting for the most scrutinized player in college football, certainly since the Fiesta Bowl, and that's Nebraska running back Lawrence Phillips. As you well know, he did not play the first 6 games of the Huskers season this year because he played a no contest of domestic assault and a trespassing charge on campus situation. Since then, he has decided not to talk to the media late. He has been invited by the NFL, but then advised not to be among the 11 ball players who we think will be drafted very early in the first round and be here. He will, though, immediately fly to the team that drafts him and attend a press conference, depending on where it is, as he's on the West Coast now, whether it's today or tomorrow. And after that, he will speak with us here at ESPN. So where Lawrence Phillips goes, who picks him, who makes a trade to get him, and is he still in the Jets situation? All these questions to be answered. But let's head to the podium and the commissioner, Paul Tagliabue.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Welcome to the National Football League's 61st annual college player selection draft. The New York Jets have the first selection and are now on the board.
Well, you might as well be at Giant Stadium. It's not that far from here. The Jets and the Giants picking 1 and 5. The Jets and the Giants have not been in the first 5, both of the teams, since 1981. We'll have plenty of raucous developments. As we told you in our beginning, we expect it to be Keyshawn, and the card is going up. We're going to keep it right here as the card is on the way, I am told. Well, let's kick it to you, Mel. Wide receiver, running backs, defensive ends, no quarterbacks. That's what we're going to see, though, in the first round.
Tremendously deep draft for wide receivers, Chris. I think Keyshawn Johnson is special, though, because he's 6'3 1/4, 220 pounds, and he wants to be a Jet. He wants to be a difference maker.
All right, well, here it is.
Wide receiver, Southern California.
And the Jets have just won the Super Bowl. He's on the phone. He's talking with the Jets, and they did the right thing. There's no question he's a game breaker. And the Jet fans are raucous. Keyshawn Johnson, Mel. No question for the Jets. Would you make the pick like this?
Definitely, Chris. When you get a player that's that big and that athletic and has an attitude about him, which is what the Jets need, they need an infusion of confidence, a winning mentality. Keyshawn Johnson feels he is that kind of player to catapult the Jets into a playoff position. You watch him play, big, strong, physical player. Does a great job against these small 5'9", 5'10" quarterbacks just to see around the National Football League. He was a dominant college receiver. You see his body control, and then the way he shields a defender away from the football. People say he doesn't run the 4.4, but in the open field, he'll outrace defensive backs to pay dirt. So like a Jerry Rice, he's a big play guy without sprinter speed. And he ran a lot of inside routes at USC, which means he has the toughness to catch in traffic. In my opinion, he's a multi-dimensional player, ideally suited for Ron Erhardt's offense.
Do you think it's a perfect fit, Joe?
Absolutely, no question. I think one of the things also that was brought out that is very important to understand about Keyshawn Johnson is he runs as fast in pads as he does without pads, and that was very important when everybody analyzed him. But you take a look at what the Jets want to do on offense. They bring in Jumbo Elliott and Dave Williams as tackles. They bring in Neil O'Donnell as a quarterback. They bring in Ron Earhart as their coordinator. Richie Kotite likes the spread set, as does Ron Earhart. They needed a receiver. All they had was Jeff Graham, and you can see that the Jet fans agree with this pick going away. They had to make it, or else anybody could have left this building alive, I don't think, Boom.
Well, he's been around football his whole life. Keyshawn Johnson was a ball boy at USC when Ronnie Lott and Marcus Allen played there, and Jeff Fisher played there, the current coach of the Oilers. He's a man that New York will love with his personality. In junior college at West LA Community College, he returned a kickoff right through the end zone into the stands, went up to a concessionaire, grabbed into a bucket of ice, and had himself a soda during the game. I don't know that he could do that at the Meadowlands, but he's certainly going to try. Sterling Sharp, Keyshawn Johnson, #1 pick. Would you have made the move?
I think I would have made the move because in the age of the big receiver, he is the biggest. And he may not be the best receiver in this year's draft, by the way. Marvin Harrison is a guy with great speed, great intensity. He sees the field before the catch, so he knows how to make those yards after the catch. I think the one thing that the Jets get is they get a guy that loves to play the game of football, the guy with a lot of enthusiasm, a guy with a lot of ability. But you look at, I would have made the pick for Lawrence Phillips. In Ron Earhart's system, the one thing he likes to do is run the football. Lawrence Phillips is a dominating running back, and because of all the outfield problems, I think the Jets went with the safe pick and Keyshawn Johnson. I'm not disagreeing with that pick, but in the age of Ron Earhart's system, where he really doesn't like to throw the football a great deal, I think Lawrence Phillips might have been the choice right here. Chris, back to you.
All right, Sterling, you know the excitement that Keyshawn is feeling right now. Last year, Mel, we had 3 receivers go in the first 10. Westbrook to the Redskins, Joey Galloway, who made such a big hit with Seattle. And then, of course, J.J. Stokes of the 49ers, that didn't really make a hit. How does he rank with those 3 guys?
I think he's the #1 guy, Chris. When I look at Keyshawn Johnson, I like the consistency from week to week. It didn't matter if he was double covered. It didn't matter if he was the target of a defense. He was still out there getting 10, 11, 12 catches. And I think that's what's special about Keyshawn Johnson. Plus the fact, and the most important fact is he's not 5'11". He's 6'3", Joe, and I think that's critical when you talk about a Herman Moore-type receiver in the NFL.
Mel, the thing about him is he is a young man who is a difference maker. I compare him tremendously to Michael Irvin. He has the charisma. He has the ability to go out and make plays. He will be a go-to guy. And one other thing, if you go into a 4-receiver set with the Jets, which I anticipate they'll do quite a bit this year, he doesn't have to worry about bump and runs. He'll be able to use his great athletic ability that we saw in college right away at the professional level, something Michael Westbrook wasn't able to do as a Redskin last year. Took him a little while to get going. It's not going to take Keyshawn very long to get going.
The 1996 NFL Draft is brought to you by Jaguar Cars. For more information about the new 1996 Jaguars, call 1-800-4JAGUAR. And by Radio Shack. You've got questions, we've got answers.
And welcome back to the NFL Jet. This concludes our coverage of the NFL Draft. You've seen the Jets draft Keyshawn Johnson? What more do you need? You already feel like you're at kickoff the opening weekend in September. Well, now comes the suspense. Now comes the pick where Jacksonville might pick running back Lawrence Phillips in Nebraska. Several teams may trade up into that spot, or we might see Lawrence Phillips hang for 5 or 6 or 7 picks. And what normally would be a sure thing, Phillips comes with some different equipment. We mentioned before a 6-game suspension at the beginning of this year for Nebraska after pleading no contest to misdemeanor assault charges. He had 3 other scraps on campus in Nebraska, missed a game in '93 because of fighting, not on field now, but off-field fighting. In March '95, he had a street altercation. In June '95, disturbing the peace. Now, we mention that because those are the facts, but the difference is Lawrence Phillips does not come with baggage of players like you would have heard last year, perhaps. Baggage of questions. You talk to any NFL team, what they think could be a question of how he's accepted in his community. There is not a question of Lawrence Phillips as to any drug questions, as to a young man that has a chip on his shoulder. Those character questions have been answered 100% yes by all the National Football League teams that we have spoken to. Are these incidents or are these problems? And these are what the teams have to weigh at this point. Let's go to Chris Mortensen, who's at Miami headquarters. Mort, what have you heard around the league? What's the inside word on Lawrence Phillips? Who's scared of it? Who doesn't view it as a problem at all?
Well, I think most teams are very cautious, kind of buyer beware, Chris. The Jacksonville Jaguars have been very careful here. When they realized that the Jets are definitely taking Keyshawn Johnson, they knew they were staring at a possibility of Lawrence Phillips, the top-rated player on their board, falling to them. They picked a first-round back last year in James Stewart. They picked up Natron Means on the waiver wires. So David Selden, their team president, made the long trip cross-country Thursday night, met with Phillips Friday and said, look, we want to go over everything with you, and basically said, hey, if we pick you, we want you to finish college, get your degree. We want you to contribute $100,000 to a women's shelter. We want you to work in the community. We want you to follow up on your therapy for anger or whatever problem you have. So they're being very careful here how Jacksonville proceeds. They're also talking to other teams about possibly trading the pick. We mentioned the
conditions that Jacksonville has is that they want to develop a mentoring program for Phillips in Jacksonville.
Also been working a trade. We'll see if that happened, or we'll see if it's Simeon Rice, Kevin Hardy, or Lawrence Phillips. Let's go to the podium.
With the second pick in the first round, the Jacksonville Jaguars select Kevin Hardy, linebacker, Illinois. Arizona is now on the clock.
Well, this is very interesting because the signals that we had gotten from Jacksonville, Mel and Joe, was that for some reason they had had Simeon Rice maybe ahead of Kevin Hardy, but Hardy is a guy that can play every down. I mean, Jacksonville can use everything, and there's no question what a force he can be on defense.
I think it's a great choice. I've been a big Kevin Hardy supporter for a couple of years now. I got to know Kevin last year. He's a great kid, a hard worker, a multi-dimensional football player. You know, we had heard a lot of speculation the last month that Jacksonville had cooled down on Hardy. They were going to go a different direction. Then this morning, he started to resurface that they wanted value with this pick. They didn't want to give the choice away. They felt that Kevin Hardy was too good a player in the end to pass up, and I agree with it wholeheartedly. I think he's going to be a great addition to the Jacksonville Jaguar football team that certainly needed defensive help. If you look at Kevin Hardy, I talk about a multi-dimensional linebacker. That means he's got the size, he has the athletic ability, the strength to be strong at the point, and the ability to cover. You watch him here. This is against Arizona, and the ability he has to play through trash and make the open field tackle. He also this year developed into a much better attacker off the corner, complementing Simeon Rice very well. That's the ability, I think, that put him over the top. You see him off the corner again in a down position, which means you can move him around. A creative coordinator can get a lot of use out of a Kevin Hardy. You can also keep him on the field every down. No situational substitution. Here he is against a good-looking tight end, Scott Slutzker from Iowa, getting out there, making the catch. Very athletic play by a linebacker. I think this is a special football player that's in that Greg Lloyd area where you can keep him on the field. He can do everything a defensive coordinator wants a linebacker to do.
No, I don't disagree with your analysis of it. I don't disagree with the fact that it is a good pick. I don't know if this actually addresses some of the needs of Jacksonville, though. They only had 5 plays over 30 yards last year, so offensively they certainly could use a game breaker. Defensively, they only had 17 sacks. Kevin Hardy is not necessarily going to be a guy who's going to go out and get sacks for you. It's a good football player. It is value, but does it address some of the needs of that football team? That's the only question I would have.
Pretty interesting company because since 1980, only 4 linebackers have gone with pick number 1, number 2. Quentin Coriat in 92 with the Colts. Cornelius Bennett, who's turned out to be a pretty darn good player when he was selected in 1987. Johnny Cooks by the Colts. Again, this is the team that always does it, no matter what city they're in. Johnny Cooks in 82, and some guy in New York named Lawrence Taylor was the number 2 pick overall in 81. Well, so Jacksonville does not go for Lawrence Phillips. I don't think we're really surprised, but now we start to wonder where he'll go. Does Arizona look at him? Does somebody come up to make the pick to number 3 with Arizona for Lawrence Phillips? Let's get to Andrea Kramer's thoughts on all this. Andrea?
Well, Chris, I spoke to Tom Coughlin this morning, and he was clearly struggling with the decision. A couple of questions he had to ask himself, and they were going to be discussing all morning were, was this a one-time incident? And also, Phillips' probation ends November 29th of this year.
Thank you. We talking about Kevin Hardy and projecting him as perhaps being a Pro Bowl linebacker. Certainly that's what Jacksonville hopes. We got a Pro Bowl linebacker of our own. Our good friend and compatriot Tom Jackson, who's at the Carolina headquarters. You looked at Hardy plenty on film, Tommy.